order the November 14th meeting of the Foxfire General Council, Foxfire Village Council. Let the record show that all members of the council are present, as well as other members in the audience. If you would join me in a moment of silence, please. Please stand and join me in the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any changes to the agenda?
I have one change, discussion of a budget amendment.
Anybody else? Get a motion to accept the agenda?
I make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I get a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Make a motion to accept the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Okay, we now have the public comment period for anything not listed on the agenda. Did you get running?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's running.
Hi, Mick McHugh, 7 Oak Hill Drive. I just want to thank Janice Gregorich and Mary Gilroy for running for our council and congratulate them for their victories. And I also want to thank Mayor Don Boito for all the service you've given to the village for a number of years. And I know that probably two of the happiest days in your life when you were made mayor and you're not going to be mayor.
Anybody else have any comments? Good deal. Okay. Zoning report, I will issue that here. Lisa's not here. There are currently 46 homes under construction or the beginning stages of lot clearing. One single-family resident application for 26 Forest Lake. 5 certificates of occupancy were issued. 15 Deer Track, 11 Oak Hill, 73 North Shamrock, 425 Rainwood, and Green Pines Vista. Other permits were issued were 1 for a pool and 1 for a fence. Anybody have any questions on the zoning?
Lots of pools this year.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll go to department reports. First one up, finance.
Okay.
Councilperson Gregorich.
Cash balances, actually, we're doing pretty well here. Our general fund balance on hand total, we have $2,554,945. Of that, we have reserves of $1,478,239. In the water fund, we have a total balance on hand of $1,392,065, and of that, in reserve, we have $471,076. Now, we are purchasing that land for $241,000, I believe. That closing is scheduled, I think tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Should be
Correct?
tomorrow.
Or at least within the next couple of days. So that's going to obviously reduce some of those balances that we've done, well, the reserve balances for sure. Now, so that leaves a total cash as of the end of October was $3,947,010. But since October 31st to date, we've received an additional $306,774 in property tax income.
Oh,
So
thank you.
that's, taxes are coming in. Total interest received from Capital Trust year to date, we're above 50,000, so.
That's just from
That's
January,
just-
right?
Yes, that's year to date.
Nice.
It's funny, I wrote it down and now I can't find it, but it's 50 plus.
This is a fiscal year, is that correct? Or calendar year? This
It's
is
fiscal year,
Fiscal year, so
yes.
this is,
Yes,
so we just double this and,
right,
yeah.
right. And right now, interest rates are, they're not going down, let me put it that way.
Yeah, not very much.
Last on my list, I believe, is a budget amendment that we need to do for the speed signs for the police department. And there are 3 signs with a total of $9,000 for those signs. And I believe at our work session, we all agreed that that was something that we wanted to move forward with. So this is the budget amendment, just moving those funds. They won't be here, I think, for another 6 to 8 weeks, I believe, so.
Anybody have a copy of the budget amendment?
Yeah, I got it someplace there.
We have a
I
motion
have
to-
it, do you need a copy of it?
No, I've got it.
Oh,
got it.
okay. So I guess someone needs to
We
make
need
a
to make a
motion.
motion to accept that and to,
I make a motion to accept it.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, go ahead and get that.
Question, are those the speed signs that track what time of day?
Yes, they do,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
that was those are the ones we're getting, okay.
yes.
Good.
Anything else?
I believe that is it, unless someone has some questions for
Any
me.
questions for Karen?
No?
Okay. Next up, streets and parks. Well, now,
Not much to report there, we did get the trails, back in shape. Brad came back, he was out, he had broken his tailbone and a couple ribs, and so he was out a couple months, that's why it was not looking very good for a while, so. He was out a couple weeks ago, they're back up to where I'd like them to be. Other than that, not much is going on right now.
have we solidified the cancellation of the USA pools?
Yeah, well, it went out, they did
Okay.
receive it. We'll see if they're going to give us a hard time about it though,
Okay.
but so far so good. We have plenty of ammunition to use against them.
And there was an out in that contract anyway,
Yes,
so
yes,
protest only one.
yeah,
We
so,
followed procedures to exit that.
yes, we did. Yeah, we've even sent it to the attorney too, just to make sure that he said everything looks on the up and up on our end, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim?
I just have one, on the fiber optics.
Oh, okay. We're not gonna go with the fiber optics.
Oh, but on the spectrum.
Yeah, we can still go with Spectrum.
Do we have any updates on when
Well,
we maybe?
Don was telling me that the fire department is on Spectrum.
Okay,
But I needed, Lisa and I chatted about this, and she was talking about how we need to talk to IT, the IT guys, because of all of our, I'm gonna say cloud, I don't think it's the cloud, but how that would work if we shifted over to Spectrum and so on and so forth. So I wanna get that solidified before I start getting Spectrum involved, to make sure we can do it and do it seamlessly. And I'd like to talk to Don a little bit later, and get the name of who the fire department is working with at Spectrum, if anyone, if not a general number or whatever. Because my guy represents the fiber optic piece of it.
I see.
So they're not gonna bring in fiber optics here at all?
No, well, let me tell you what they proposed. To bring the fiber optics, which is probably in Pinehurst somewhere, they were gonna charge the village $10,500 to do that.
Oops.
And I asked him, I said, now let me ask, can homeowners get on the fiber optic system if it's been brought out here? And he said, well, absolutely. And I said, so you want the village to absorb the cost for you to bring the fiber optic line out here so that then you can go and sell it to all of our residents, but we absorb the cost for doing that for you.
Right, they should be doing that if they
Yes.
want the business for the fiber optics.
Yes, and really, there's a few nuances regarding the fiber optics. One of them is, there's a guarantee that says if the, internet goes out, they guarantee that you will be back up and running in 4 hours. Well, I've had my internet go out.
Wow.
And it hasn't been, 4 days, like velocity.
Mm-hmm,
So, when you've got this many Spectrum people, they're gonna come out and get it up and running quickly anyway,
right,
for the base, I'm gonna call it the basic service.
right.
So I didn't see the goal, the benefit of having the taxpayers pay for them to bring it here.
We should investigate to find out if there's not a grant to bring in high-speed internet that could help us pay for that.
Well, the regular service is high speed also.
And we might be able to get some money to bring that in, I don't know. But there are grants available for community.
Community.
But I would assume that if we have just the regular high-speed internet, they run those fiber optics through the same channels that they're running their regular.
I can't answer that, I don't know.
I don't think they drill in new
No,
I don't know
fiber
that. I don't know that.
no.
lines. But we can
check into it.
check into it, but I don't think we should delay getting the
Oh, no.
high-speed
No, yeah.
internet on it.
And that's what we have now. I mean, everybody here that has Spectrum has high-speed internet.
Everybody
It's
except
very
for,
degrees.
everybody except for the village.
What?
Except for us here.
Well,
We don't
the
have-
fire department has it. I don't know why we don't.
Computer, I hear the AOL thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
all right.
alright, so we're still looking into that, but,
Okay,
okay.
anything
that's
else? For-
all I have for right now.
Okay, next up, public safety, Councilman Nelson.
Okay, fire report, the department had an ISO inspection on November 9th. That's a yearly inspection. Everything went well. They haven't got the final results back on that yet. As far as the calls for the year, so far, station in West End has 933 calls this year, and here in Foxfire, we've had 855 calls. So that's, our percentage of the calls is at 34%, which is a little bit higher than normal, but it's close. We had one fire in November on Deer Track, which was a small garage fire. They had 22 EMS incidents, one service call, whatever that's for. 3 good intents, and 4 false alarms, for a total of 31 calls in November. So everything is going okay there.
You said there's 855 calls this year.
Right.
Is that calendar year, I'm assuming?
That is calendar year, yes.
And what are the majority of those calls? Do you have that information?
It's broken down, let's see here. Foxfire incidents by category, 294. That's for the year, 294
Out of
calls.
the 800?
I thought you said 855 for Foxfire, or is that for Station 65?
That's for station 65.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we have.
All right, so we have 200 and what?
294.
Okay. That sounds better.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that 800.
800.
Okay, police department. Mr. Chief Shrew.
What's CNR?
Careless and reckless.
What is it?
Anything 80 or over, careless and reckless.
Oh,
All right, pretty short for me tonight. I passed everybody a copy of the numbers for the month of October. We had 736 events, which included 150 citations, out of 111 vehicle stops. The big thing that we've been fighting that still continue to be a thorn in our side right now is that patrol car is back at Leaf Dodge, I think it is now. They've had that car for going on 3 months now. We just, last time I met with you, we just got billed for $1,400 to fix it. I pretty much went and picked up the car, got in it, and it was not rectified, so I turned right back around and went up there and told them how I felt about it. So we would not be paying that $1,400 bill, unless they can prove somehow or another it's tied into what's still not right. But the car's still there.
Did you not know that was a police vehicle?
And I guess the thing that bothers me is, you
You
know,
know?
are you not getting out and driving it after you supposedly
Well,
fix it is my big thing.
Yeah,
These are things that are just obvious, like trying to turn the wheel to the left, the steering actually freezes, which is.
and they didn't catch that.
Yeah, you know, we drop it off, the dash was fine, we get it back and the airbag lights on. It's just something every time.
Finding employees.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So, you know, I've been reaching out to different dealerships, trying to see what we can do about finding a vehicle. And everywhere I called, I run into a dead end. I literally called every dealership from Manuel to Murphy. And there was one car at Performance Dodge in Clinton, North Carolina. However, there's 3 people on the wait list already for it. So it looks like our next bet is gonna be in January. They're having a run of Durangos, police rated Durangos, which is gonna be about $2,000 more than what we were looking at for the Charger anyway. So I went ahead and got on a wait list for that. I don't know when the run date is actually gonna be, when we'll see that vehicle, but I have locked in at least a reservation on a vehicle. We'll see when we get it.
Have you looked at just one make, or have you looked at Fords, or what?
Now, we looked at everything. We looked at the Chevrolet, Ford, Dodge, all the major manufacturers of police-rated vehicles, and there's nothing out there. Everybody's in the same boat we are, you know, with Dodge no longer making the gasoline-powered vehicles anymore. Unfortunately for Chevrolet, they do a specific run. Once they fill up the amount of cars they want to sell, they close it. They don't make any more till the next July.
So does Leaf still have the other vehicle?
Yes,
I mean,
they-
okay, so
Yeah,
they're
we're
still
still,
looking at it.
yeah, we're still trying to get it
Still pursuing
fixed,
it.
and, you know, once we finally get it back, you know, we'll have it.
Yeah.
We'll continue to utilize it as we need it, but it's, probably will not see that vehicle used as like a patrol vehicle full-time once we get this new vehicle in, unless it's just, we're in a position we are now where an officer has to have them to drive.
Should I tell Jesse he should? be
I was just gonna
concerned?
say, tell Jesse to get rid of his.
No,
He's
we're,
gotta give it up.
but that's our big issue that we're up against right now is the vehicle situation.
That's too bad.
Chief, I have a question on the vehicle. This new Durango, what kind of price range are we looking at? for
About
this?
40,000.
About 40, and then how much to outfit it?
I'm gonna say 5,000 sub 5,000, because unfortunately a lot of the equipment won't transfer over because it's a different type of vehicle. And we've always tried to save a little money, you know, on that, but unfortunately we're in a corner and that's really all we have to work with.
Wow.
Yeah. So if I were to put a ballpark,
And we're looking at what kind of a delivery date for that? Is that gonna be in this fiscal year? Or,
I'm gonna say yes.
so January, February?
I'm hoping, fingers crossed.
Okay,
You know. If they take the order in January,
so,
typically 90-day turnaround is what we usually look at.
okay, so March,
90
April,
days.
okay.
On those, because they're not coming out of Canada, so. Like, most of the Chargers come out of Canada, that's why they took so long for us to get them. So, any questions for me, or, all right? Yes, sir, go right ahead.
So, on vehicle citations, and I'm gonna narrow it down to specifically speeding. Is there a way to break out where those citations are being issued, specifically Richmond, or whatever road they're on? Is there a way to break that data
Not
out?
in the system we have now. The only way I can do that is go in and use, I would have to basically pull every citation and just look at the location on it.
So you don't-
I don't have a way to break down, you know, I guess I could put in a search like Richmond Road, just a very broad search, just put in like Richmond Road at Pine Tree Terrace and see what populates. Cause we do put in a cross street every time we stop a vehicle. So if it's on Richmond and we were near Pine Tree, we'd put Richmond at Pine Tree. Sort of the cross street reference street.
Well, the reason I'm asking, you know, back in the day, we used to have pin maps, you know, so that you could at a glance look.
Right.
And it was easy for us to help rectify somebody that said, you know, we're not doing selective enforcement here. And clearly we are, because you see we've issued X amount of citations on this specific spot. Is there, I've gotta believe that there's gotta be some software somewhere that would do that, so that you're putting the data is great.
Right.
But to be able to drill down to it, seems like that should be something we should be able to do without you having to figure out a formula.
Well, Southern Software has always been great to work with. I've made several personal contacts, and it's nothing for me to pick up the phone and say, hey, this is what we're looking for. Can you help me plug that in somehow? They'll remote in and they'll make it happen if they can.
And speeding has become, not a significant issue, but certainly it's an issue that the village pays attention to, and it does seem to come up at our meetings quite often, and I was just wondering if we would be able to, at some point, maybe be able to drill down.
Well, and again, right at this point, we go off of complaints. So obviously Richmond Road was a hot topic that was brought to my attention. Like today, I had a car sitting there for 3 hours on Richmond Road. It netted 0 citations. So just because the number isn't there, doesn't mean we're not trying to work it.
Oh, no, and I'm not looking at it from
Stuff like
that
that's-
perspective, I'm looking at it from the totally opposite
Right.
perspective.
Right.
Not to show where things aren't happening, but where things are happening.
Yeah.
But I get your point. There was a vehicle pulled over, but no citation was given, or you were at you did selective enforcement for 3 hours and
Right.
nobody,
Yeah.
right? But all that does factor into your next selective enforcement, right? So if I was there from 1 to 4 and I didn't get anything, perhaps you
That's
get
why,
a check
and
at the
that's
time.
what we do. We just kind of just move it around. And that's, to be fair, your hot times are gonna be your people that are traveling through. You know, the 8 to 5 communities
Yeah.
are our biggest catches.
You
But
betcha.
like you said, obviously, there's no time on speed. It just happens to be when it is.
Yep.
So we just keep trying to mix it up and see what works.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
And thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Anything
That's all I
else?
have.
Any questions? No. Next up, Water Department, Councilman Sanders.
Okay, well, Janice mentioned that we got the paperwork for Sacman, and it looks like that we're going to be able to get that done this week, which is very, very helpful for us because we wanted to be able to get Underwood under contract, which we needed to do by 1 December, and it sounds like we're gonna be able to do that. So that was really, my big update with that, other than I'm gonna follow up in new business regarding zoning.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are you finished, or were you,
With the new well?
yes?
Yes.
What additional costs are we looking at after, because Sharon and I were talking about this, we've got the reserve, so we've got the property paid for, but then, do they still have to install the well, or is, so how much money are we looking at in addition to the property? Do we know?
Yes. I don't have it in front of me.
Rough numbers is good enough.
I'm gonna be careful before I say any number.
If we can build the house, probably.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's probably the least of our expenses, considering they still have to drill, encase the well and do all that, put
Right.
the pumps in.
What we're dealing with now is literally the expense of putting in the well.
Right.
And then how does it work, we as in Foxfire are gonna manage to it. So specifically, will it be independent?
Or feeding
And will it be a
another
chemical feeder?
Mhm.
And so still have a couple of other questions that need to be answered, but from what Jesse and I have been able to find up to this point, we feel pretty confident that it's gonna have to be an independent because of the way that it produces, number one, and we wanted to kind of keep it, because it is a big producer, we wanted to keep it independent, and we wanna put it under emergency power, so we're gonna
Oh,
we'll
definitely.
also go for a generator out there. So, but again, obviously, everything that we tick on top of that is an added expense in terms of the blockhouse. Like I said, I will get you those numbers.
Just, yes, give me, send that to me,
That's
that would be
cool,
great.
I don't remember.
I don't either.
Just to refresh everybody, how much the capacity on that well is going to be.
Just over 50 gallons.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The largest one we have.
Yeah, it's the biggest producer, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions, any other questions, anything else you want to cover at this point?
No, not until we get to the next one.
Okay, Mayor's report, I don't have anything specifically, I'll talk about that as we get into some new business. So new business, one of the things that came up this year was that Foxfire does not have absentee ballots. and that was decided back in 2013. And what we also found, according to the Board of Elections, is when it's not on the absentee ballot, we are not on the early ballot. So the question the council should be thinking about is, do we want to change that for the next election? We have to notify the Board of Election in plenty of time, because there is a cost associated with that, of course.
Do we know how much the cost is?
I'm not on,
Thousands, I'm
a
assuming.
couple of thousand, I think is
At
what
least,
Lisa
yeah.
estimated.
Well, I think we paid like about 5,000 for this election.
Something like that, yeah.
I-
Yeah, for what,
74 people.
174 people to vote?
Exactly.
So it's a lot of,
We had
It's a lot of money.
no.
and
Mm-mm.
So, as a background, why this was done was in 2011, there were 6 absentee ballots. In the 2009 election, there were none. 2007, there were 20. 2005, there were 0.
Yeah.
So,
I think we should
Didn't
just
warrant
keep it,
that.
I just think we should keep it the way it is,
without,
just like it is right now.
okay.
Well, I
That's
think, if nothing else, we should at least find out what the additional cost is, because we're already paying whatever for the election. And then if it's a nominal fee, maybe we can consider it
Yeah.
for convenience, but
Okay.
It's gonna be 2,000-3,000.
We can-
if it's a lot,
Can we
You gotta
do
staff
it
the whole thing.
independent? In other words, can we do it one year and not the next?
You can do it, but the resolution, I don't know if you wanna keep,
The reason I mention that is because certainly, you know, the turnout was light because there really wasn't.
off your
anything-
election, right.
Yeah, on the ballot for, especially here, so I was wondering if we would be able to consider it on a yearly basis. In other words, if there's something coming up that's gonna be on the ballot, I would venture to guess that there wasn't a whole lot of absentee ballots. I mean, well, like I said, there was no reason for us to be on it at all this year, because
Some people
it's
did.
hard to justify.
I think it's tough to go back and forth, because then people
Yeah.
don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
I think we either
I
need to
agree.
Yeah, good
do
point.
it or don't do
Yeah,
it.
good point.
And I
Yeah, I
guess
think-
the big thing we need to do is just ask the question.
This
You know,
year,
how much?
we got several calls about.
Several, how much is several?
3, 4 calls,
Okay,
that people tried to vote and couldn't vote,
okay.
so just something to consider, and I'll see if we can find out what the cost is, and put that on your agenda for next year, whether you wanna change that or not. And give the Board of Election plenty of time to do that. Okay, the next thing I have is I talked with the mayors of the other smaller communities about the stipends, what they pay, if any, to their council members. And I have a pretty wide variety from the smaller ones. Taylortown, mayor gets $700 a month. And the council members get between $350 and $400, depending on their jobs.
Wow,
Pine Bluff, mayor gets $500
a month?
a month. The mayor pro tem gets $350, and the council gets $250. Whispering Pines, $250 for the mayor, $200 for the council people. Now, I'm bringing this up because it doesn't impact me for next year, so I can't be accused of trying to pad my own pockets, but it's something that the council may want to consider. Given the amount of work that you all do, whether there's some compensation that should be issued for that.
Do you want opinions? or-
Yeah, I'd like to get some opinions,
I'm totally against it.
okay?
I'm for it.
Okay?
I don't know, I gotta think about it.
Okay.
I'm not ready to commit.
That's fine. This is not a vote, it's just a poll here.
And I thought about it, okay? These amounts, these are quite high. I would, based on the fact, I'm talking nominal amount. We use our personal phones, we use our personal vehicles,
Yep.
and I'm talking nominal amounts.
Well, I'm thinking
But-
maybe 400 for the mayor and 200 for the council members, something like that.
I don't even know if
Something-
I'd go that, but my concern is, we all entered into running for council we knew there was no compensation. You know, we volunteered to do this. And my concern is that someone's gonna say, I wanna run for council just so I can get this extra money. I would rather see that money go towards salaries for our employees, to be honest with you.
I agree.
And again, I wouldn't mind like, $50 a month to help with offsetting the cell phone and the car and blah, blah, blah. But I'm not sure we should say, let's go with these dollars.
Yeah,
Or whatever the
I think
dollars.
the big thing to me is that once a council starts that practice, then they can increase that amount and every council can then increase it, and they're basically voting money for themselves. And I think if you're running
Sounds like
for
Congress.
council, if you're running for council for the money, it's probably the wrong reason.
Right.
And I don't think there's enough, I just don't think there's, yes, we do work hard, but I think you would get better candidates for people doing it because they want to do it, not for the money. But that's just my opinion.
And mine too.
So it's something to consider, I'm not asking for any, but I'm just throwing these numbers out, which shocked me when I got them,
Yeah,
to be honest
especially
with
with
you.
the other town.
But,
Yeah.
something to consider going into maybe the next budget year. Because I did do a little bit of work on it, so. Okay, so we've got that. We have discussed ad nauseum this declaration of dissent. Because we were afraid, one of the concerns we had was that if we didn't hook up and be a member of the MPO, and we decided that we could wind up being a part of the Fayetteville MPO, which was a threat that was sort of hung out there. But it has come to our attention that that is not possible, because the MPOs are established by the federal level. So, given that all of the other smaller communities have issued a letter of dissent, that we accept the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, but we don't like the voting, which is a 1-to-1 vote versus a weighted vote. And just to refresh everybody's memory, a weighted vote would take place when the governing board did not have a unanimous decision on a project. And there were two of the governing board that said they wanted a weighted vote. Should that occur, Pinehurst gets 3 votes. Southern Pines gets 3 votes. Aberdeen gets 2. The county gets 2. Whispering Pines gets 1. Foxfire gets 1. Taylortown gets 1. Pine Bluff gets 1. So our concern was that we don't like that portion of the MOU, but we had to sign the MOU or we would be out of the MPO. So I would like to get a motion to accept this declaration of dissent, and we will send that along to the Secretary of Transportation. Do I have a motion to that?
I'll make a motion
All in
to
favor?
approve the dissent.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we will issue that this week. Okay, yard waste facility, you're up.
I was sitting down with Lisa and I would like my name to be put on the long-range planning.
Yes.
As part of the
Those
discussion
lists will be
for
out.
the yard waste movement.
I'll get those lists out for our work session.
Thank you. And we can discuss this more in detail in our work session. Don Nelson and I walked across the street. I sat down with Lisa. There's 2 acres over here, next door. Where are we? There,
Over there.
that way.
There.
Okay. And kind of talked about what we could do with that property and so on and so forth. It's very preliminary. The reason I'd like to start working on this is because, and I figure in January, it's gonna take at least 3 months to get all of the quotes that we would need for all of the work that would need to be done to move that. So I'd like to start sometime in January. I'd like this to be, Don, you and I participating in this project, because it's gonna take all three of us. And I can outline what we've kind of put together, and how we could use that acreage over there. A big portion of it, we're not gonna be able to use. If you take a walk over there, it's pretty steep down. But I can kind of explain what we came up with, and we wanna share it with the police department and the yard waste. So I'll go over all that later, but I would like to start working on this in January. But I'd like to kind of, all of us sit down and talk a little bit about what I've outlined and
Sounds good, yeah.
what we can do to
Yeah,
improve
The
it.
dynamic behind that is the security of the water tower,
Correct.
Yeah.
which is why we're
Correct.
considering this.
And, just so everybody knows, Don and I, Nelson and I, this would be split between our three departments, because we're all gonna benefit from it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'll
sounds
go
good.
over that in our work session
Sounds good.
in, December. Okay, because we
Thanks,
don't have
Janet,
it
that's
this
great.
month.
Okay, next up, pump out zoning. Councilor Samuels.
So I'm glad Mary's here. Well, this is not hard, it's what we discovered from our conversations, when we were talking about the municipal, I think we called it municipal zoning, MZ or something, I think that was the acronym.
MUN.
Yeah,
MUN.
MUN. And in talking with Mary and looking at our maps, our pump houses are zoned wherever they're at. There's no
Correct.
unique zoning, so if they're in RA, they're RA. And the presentation that Mary did as it relates to that, the MUN, seems to fit our needs precisely for the pump house designation, that area. That area, and I'm gonna put air quotes in there because my question, can I ask a question? Assume I can. Will each one of those have to be surveyed, I'm assuming, and then somehow carved out of, how
What do you
does
mean?
that, in other words, the property itself, where the structure sits?
Yeah.
If it's sitting within
It's already a lot. I mean,
Mm.
all the well houses, with the exception of one, sit on 40,000 or more square feet. It is a lot
It's
unto
got a
itself.
PIN number,
It's
yeah.
not, I mean, it's,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
I mean, the
I didn't
pump
know.
houses have a specific land record key, you can look them up, and they are all 40,000 square feet or more, except for one that's 39,000 and change.
Okay, all right, well, great, 'cause that was the only, like I said, the only follow-up I had was what would we incur if we were going to do that? Would we have to get them
No, it's,
surveyed or anything?
no, it needs to go to a public hearing.
Right,
Right,
Right, and I'll save this till the end, I guess, public comment, but municipal is something we need to talk about.
okay.
would we be in danger of any issue with spot zoning by doing that?
I don't see how you could be.
Okay. Okay, just a question I thought about. Could be stuck in the middle of anything else, so. You know, let's double check that, just to make sure, but we're probably okay, but at least it crept up in my brain to ask that question.
It still doesn't solve the problem of the security that occurs and the infrastructure of a well. I
No.
mean, it just doesn't,
No.
it's just violating the zoning of the
Correct.
area.
Yep. Okay.
But if it is considered spot zoning, that means you have to allow spot zoning.
Well, that's where you'd have to
Over.
find out exactly what the ramifications of that are, I don't know.
But then you have another problem, which I'll address later.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to let the council know I think that would be my recommendation for us to consider using that designation for our pump houses, the MUN. And I guess that was really all I wanted to say, unless anybody had a question or a concern about that. No? Good. All right, the next Good.
You're up again.
Yeah, the next item is, I wanted to follow up again with the council and let you know that, and this is specific to our mapping goal of getting all of our infrastructure mapped. I had introduced you to an outfit last month that was a small unit. They did a lot of great things, and I made a presentation to the council. In looking out there for other opportunities, and during that particular time, my concern was that the company that I had presented to the council, albeit it was certainly not expensive, but and did seem to have a lot of the things that we needed in terms of the usability and ease of use of the application. The problem is it is a really small company. I mean, literally 2 people are managing the whole thing. And I, obviously we got great attention from the owners, and it really got me concerned. So Jesse went out and found a company, ESRI is the name of the company that's been around since '69. They've got 5,000 employees in 73 countries. Mapping is not what they primarily do. If you get an opportunity to go out on the web and look at ESRI, you'll see how big they are. But the mapping functionality for infrastructure is a component within that large company. We met with them via Zoom meetings twice already, and what we discovered was, and this is the most important thing that I wanted to let you know, was that the company that made those maps, those old maps that sit in Jesse's office, it looks like they're gonna be able to convert those into their program, which means that he'll have a base to start from, and then it'll be a matter of him adjusting a well or a valve here or a meter there, etc. And their company is as easy as the one that I presented to you in terms of its usability on a phone, its usability on an iPad. It uses the cloud as just like the other company does. It has the same ability to be able to send data to, say, McFadden, so that they can pull that data up on their phone. So it really, it's my recommendation that that's the company that we go with. And the difference in price is $185 a month. That's the difference. So we're paying $185 more a month for that. It's
185 more a month?
Yeah.
What was the original?
It was like 4,000 something. This one is, I'm sorry, it was almost 5,000, and this one is,
Is that a month?
no, it's a year.
Oh.
7, I'm sorry, hold on. 765. Wait a minute, hold on. Well, I feel again, I'm shortchanging myself here. It was, like I said, it was very minimal. And again, I apologize for not having those numbers with me, but I'll get those to you. But that's my recommendation. And like I said, I'll get you those numbers.
Gary, my big concern, and I think I've voiced this before, is that I'm very concerned about cybersecurity when it comes to this,
Yes.
this software, and I know, just because the servers are based here, that's got nothing to do with cybersecurity and information being transferred over the net and via phones. And if we go with something like this, I would like to see some kind of an independent cybersecurity opinion on putting this information, especially in this day and age, in the cloud, being accessed by numerous people's phones, being sent over. That's all.
I'll share they sent me all the security data. I'll share it with you.
Well, I think we should have maybe a military cybersecurity person or somebody. I still think we need someone else's opinion on water supply, putting that kind of information just out there. Because once it's out there, once it goes on someone's phone, now it's on the phone server, you know, wherever your phone is being, all that information is now
out there.
on another server somewhere,
Do we have a
so.
list of current customers or newer customers that we could contact?
Yeah.
Find out who their cyber security people might have been?
Sure.
As opposed to just casting
Yeah,
around.
because we don't have anything right now for that.
We don't have the system, so we don't.
Right, but seriously,
For what?
for any cybersecurity.
No, we basically, I don't know what firewalls we have.
Right,
Well, the firewalls are built within the software itself, so that and I guess I'll send the security data to you, and I will find another company, maybe, I don't know how I can do that.
Well, I do know someone who's actually retired military that was a cybersecurity officer. And maybe she could help us with, maybe getting some kind of an expert opinion on the risks of doing something like this. I think we should at least do some due diligence on the security end of it. But I'll ask a couple of questions. I don't know how anyone else feels, but that's just my opinion.
It won't cost that much to get that analysis done. Probably it's important to do that. Okay, so you'll do that, Gary?
Yeah, would you mind sharing the contact with me?
Let me talk to her,
so that I
she's
can-
local here, so let me
Okay.
talk to her and see if she, can give you a call even, or I'll
That'd
give
be
you
great.
her number, yes.
That'd be great, thank you.
Great. Okay, any other questions on that? Okay, let's move to old business, Woodland Circle, Eagle Drive signage, Councilman Nelson.
Okay, well, we talked about this before, about putting up a crosswalk on Woodland and Eagle with pedestrian crosswalk sign. And I think the opinion of the police chief and others that it's not a good idea. It's gonna be a situation where, I think the only possible way it could work we'd have to have two signs, one on coming down the hill and one through the intersection on the other side. Otherwise, it's not gonna do any good.
right.
And I think it's gonna be a situation where their sign will probably get knocked over once every 3-4 days, and it'll be a problem keeping it up, so. My opinion, it's not probably a good idea.
I agree.
I
I'd
agree.
like to have it to work, but I just don't think it's gonna work. What's your opinion?
I agree with I don't think we should put it up, I think it would become a safety hazard, to tell you the truth.
In my opinion, I go by one of those at least once a week, and I've never seen it knocked down. And I always see people putting on their brake lights when they come to it. So, I know it can be effective. That's my opinion.
I agree with Don Nelson.
What is that?
I mean, pros and cons, I just think it's gonna be more of a hassle than it's worth. I think if we had one, we could just try it out and see how it works, but we don't have one.
The road is very narrow, it's not like there's a median in the road, there's no
No.
boulevard there that's separating the road is narrow to begin with. It's downhill,
Yeah. gonna
it's
be
not
tight.
level,
It'll be tight.
I just,
What are our options?
Rumble strips,
Hmm?
rumble strips. I already got your quote on that.
Well, rumble strips, I was over by, in Pinehurst, by the, where the golf carts go across between the clubhouse.
Yeah,
They got rumble strips there, but I noticed they were all worn out, and there's very little rumble left in it. Of course, the traffic there is very heavy.
correct.
You get down by the other, going on Morganton out from Highway 5, those rumble strips are pretty effective. Although they're not, how, did you ever get a thickness on those?
Yeah, I
it's
mentioned
mills,
it.
they were mills,
20
200 mills.
Mills,
Yeah.
not, yeah.
Centimeters.
Well, and you know what, I mean, maybe I can have them bring a sample of how high they would be. But again, I think the traffic's gonna dictate how long they'll last.
Well,
This
yeah,
is not Morganton Road.
No, it's not, the
And-
traffic pattern here would be 1/100th or 1,000th of
Right.
count like
Right.
that.
And I'll be honest, I mean, when I spoke to the paving company, and we talked about the crosswalk, they were total agreement. The comment was, you're coming downhill, and if you think about it, when you're on Morganton, going towards, 15501, there's crosswalk, or I'm talking Linden, I'm sorry. There's crosswalks, and as you're driving, you look both ways to see if anybody's standing on the side of the road, and if there's no one standing on the side of the road, you don't brake, you keep going. So, coming down Woodland Circle, downhill, you can see both sides of the road, there's no one there, you're not slowing down.
Well, it's not being, and we're not using it for pedestrians.
Correct.
Let's be honest about that. This is not a pedestrian
We're trying to
issue.
slow the
Correct.
traffic down.
And you know what, slowing someone down when the speed limit is, you know, when the people driving are going 30 or 35 miles an hour, I think we're just talking about this,
Ad nauseam.
right, it's just, I just don't think it's worth it.
No.
I really don't. I don't think either option is worth it. That's just my opinion.
You know, I don't know if anybody heard this, but in Georgia, there is a law that states, the police, now, I'm not talking the state police, it's against the law to stop someone who's going under 10 miles over the speed limit. So if you're going 9 miles over the speed limit, they don't even bother with you.
That's the law.
Yeah,
Well,
so, and any police officer that you speak to, and I don't care where you go, except Michigan, if you're going 5 over, they'll stop you. It's not worth it for them to stop someone going 9 miles over the speed limit. And if you get a ticket, you're gonna go to court, it's gonna be basically thrown out. So now you've got a police officer that goes to court, you've gotta pay possibly overtime for that police officer to go. It's not worth it.
Well, the chief is still here, so
Yeah.
we could get his opinion if we can have an expert comment on during the meeting, or we wait until after.
Oh, he's here, let's get
He's here,
let's get
let's-
his opinion. Maybe out of order, we'll get it.
And you may disagree with me,
I didn't prepare for this, but
but not spot.
I'll do my best. What's the question? I mean,
I-
what, do we have a specific number we look at when we stop cars, is that what you're asking?
No,
No.
I think what your opinion is on this crosswalk, the physical crosswalk in this location.
I think it's a terrible idea.
I guess that's all.
And I don't think it's a bad idea, I think it's a terrible idea, because you also open yourself up to some other issues on the opposite ends of the crosswalk. I'm not speaking of the sign, I'm speaking of the crosswalk itself. The crosswalk, the only way it can physically go across that intersection and make any sense at all, dumps you off right into a ditch.
Yep,
Right.
Now, when you have a pedestrian who you've now painted in a crosswalk, which they are now legally bound to use, they get across and they fall in that ditch, who's liable now?
well, yeah.
Mhm.
And that's my opinion on the crosswalk.
And if it's dark and you don't know that ditch is there, and you walk off the side, you're in the ditch.
Okay.
How about
All
speed?
right,
How
so-
about speed? What is your break off on speed?
It's officer discretion. It depends on the weather. Is it raining? Is it clear? Is it dark? Is it light? It's officer discretion.
How
The
about,
law
how about a
states
semi,
that at the-
how about a semi going down Hoffman Road at 65 miles an hour? You used to.
We wrote one a ticket today for that. So it was 64, not 65.
Okay.
Okay.
The North Carolina law states if the speed limit is 35, 36, they're speeding.
Well, yeah,
Okay, technically, that's what the law states, but you bring a good point. If you start loading up your case dockets for 37s, 38s,
You're not-
40s, you're gonna catch a pretty bad name pretty quick in the court system, and that's not what we're gonna do.
Okay, thank you, chief.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so are we talking, we're not gonna do anything? It's not a problem?
That's my
Yeah.
proposal. That's
It's
what
not
I'm
a problem,
for.
so we're just going to say,
Well, I think we're not saying that we don't do anything. I say that we continue to monitor and do the
Correct.
things that we're doing.
we're doing,
to keep-
doing nothing different.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So
not
that's what we're
do
saying.
nothing, it's just
Oh,
continue
that's-
doing what we're doing.
Doing nothing additional to police radar.
Okay, if that is a consensus, then we just,
Well, we can vote on it if you want.
we don't need to.
No.
We don't need to vote on it. We're just doing what we're doing.
Okay.
We continue to do what we're doing. Okay, all right, thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts on
I
that?
just wanna backtrack. It's $765 for the year, and the other one was roughly $598, so it just.
For the year.
Yeah.
That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Good to see.
Okay, already brought up, the last thing I have is the Woodlands Circle Hoffman Road property. I signed the contract yesterday. Hopefully we'll get the check tomorrow and we'll close no later than the 20th, and we can begin the process. It's only taken us 2 years to get there, but we've gotten there. Any questions or comments on that part?
That's good, with that, we can move on.
Okay, public comment period on the things that we have discussed today. Nothing, okay.
Yeah, actually, I have something. Tom McClellan, 3 Dogwood Court. You know where Dogwood Court is?
Yeah.
Well, if you continue down Woodland Circle, it's just 100 yards, the street on the left-hand side. There's no stop sign there.
Oh, I know which one you're talking, Wolf or Fox.
I don't even know the name of it.
Fox
Fox
Ridge or
Ridge,
something
maybe,
like
or
that.
Yeah.
Fox Hollow,
Fox Hollow?
Fox Hollow.
Yeah.
And that's in
Fox
Hollow.
Hollow,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's no stop sign
Okay,
there.
we need to get a stop sign.
So wait, I'm going south, or west, east on Woodland, not going west? I'm entering in.
I'm going down the hill.
Okay, so-
I don't know whether I'm going south or.
No, you're going east if you're going in, you're going
Okay,
east.
okay.
Okay, so, the first road is Eagle? Are you
Oh,
past
You
it?
don't know where I live then?
No, you're what, Dogwood?
Yeah, I'm a mile, I'm 9/10 of a mile from
Yeah.
where you enter.
Okay, so, what's the
And it's
address?
just past the left-hand, just past that on the left-hand side. There's no street.
All new houses put in there in the last couple of years.
Alright, I'll check it out.
Yeah,
That's all, it just doesn't have a stop sign.
okay.
I
Thank you,
noticed
Tom.
that.
So, we'll try and get,
Whatever.
do we?
I
Okay.
just bring it to your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Okay, Mary, it looked like you had something you wanted to say earlier.
I'm gonna pass.
Okay. Pass on that. Okay, okay, pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, we are going to go into a closed session to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, and conditions of appointment or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee of a prospective public officer or employee. I get a motion to go to closed session.
I'll make that motion to go to.
All in favor?
on.
Okay. Closed session.